Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of INC Accelerated, the success mantra from the Trailblazers. I'm your host Yogesh Mudras, welcoming you all as we begin this new year 2022. World over, we are faced with this new challenge of Omicron infections rising everywhere. But having said that, we are also seeing countries learning to live with this virus. And the signals are that we should be able to tide over this wave sooner than expected. Today, we are honored and privileged to have amongst our midst a very special, internationally renowned guest, Dr. Sarfaraz K. Niazi. Welcome, sir. Welcome to our show. Uh,
Totally delighted. Thank you.
thank you. So, my first question to you, sir, is my advice. I think in one of your books, you have mentioned my advice is to go on with your life. A non living chemical entity should not block the jaw of inhaling fresh air. That was your recent was worried about the virus. There are many experts who have a grimmer prognosis about this entire situation. What is your route for your optimism?
So I take it back to how we started life. Okay, I think the viruses came in before the cells came in, and viruses are going to be here after we are all gone. Okay? Virus is nothing but a pure chemistry, okay? And if it takes a little bit of understanding, okay, how could a chemical be formed automatically, which can generate itself, okay? And it is not very difficult to understand, okay? But if you believe that it is possible, so here's the virus, okay? The last big episode, if you will call, was about 100 years ago, when we had a Spanish flu, started in New York, and exactly the history is repeating itself, okay? So about halfway through it, they said, forget about it, let's go out, okay? They went out and lost another few million people, okay? So when I say, work around it, okay, and do not let it transform your life, because this virus will stay here for all time to come. It's not going anywhere. Now, how do we manage with it, okay? If you are fully vaccinated, you still got really booster shot, you don't have to worry too much about it. But more important, you can help make sure you do not spread it. So when I say go on with life, follow the science, get the vaccine, and don't let it stop you from doing, because then you are really letting this piece of 1,273 amino acid sequence, okay, to block your life. I think you should have an optimistic view and accept it rather than fight it. You cannot fight something that is non-living and just a chemical.
I think that this is great things. I'm sure our viewers are listening to this, and it's a great piece of advice. Basically, as we want to move ahead with our life in normalcy and how we can continue leading that. So great views. But my next question would be, what according to you is the difference in how developing and developed countries view this biosimilars and drug development? I think that's very essential, because I think both parts of the world are viewing it in a different way. And how does this vision impact the recovery of the economy of any country, of our country, as in particular India?
So first of all, let me acknowledge this, okay, that India has done exceedingly well, much better than, I would say, most developing countries. You have some other excellent base for making vaccine. You're exporting billions of dollars of pharmaceuticals to US and Europe. Okay, so you already have a base there. I think biosimilars, as you know, I had a lot to do with it from the very beginning, starting with writing the US code, which is DPCIA. I think there's going to be a significant change in how FDA and EMA approve biosimilars. Now they have 15 years of record to prove that these are very safe products. Okay, and now there was one clause which is in the mind of everybody. It's called for the abundance of caution. They use call. Just do this test also. Do this test also. So I have taken a vigil. I call it vigil because I don't like to present ideas without a logic. So I went to FDA and I asked them, okay, I said, I have no issue testing it 10,000 times. if it adds any value at all whatsoever. Okay. But if it does not or cannot add value, then why are we doing it? Okay? And that's the basic Aristotelian philosophy, okay, or Socratian philosophy. It keeps asking why until you have either no more questions or no more answers. So I'm very confident that this year will bring a new wave of guidelines which will remove altogether testing in animals. It makes zero sense. Number one, I have to educate are the companies developing it. You know why? Because in the 33 biosimilars approved by FDA, by the way, most of them are owned by big pharma anyway, they conducted studies that were not even reviewed by FDA. They still have the mindset of a new drug. But I'm teaching them that now the FDA has a new policy coming up where new biologics will not be required for animal testing because animals don't have receptors. It's a very simple truth. For them, an antibody is just extra source of protein. Why are you testing them? And they have agreed to that. So my question was, if you don't want to test it in new drugs, which is much riskier, of course, the cancer part is separate of it. Then why are we testing for biosimilars? So I'm taking the lead with FDA to remove all animal testing and all human efficacy testing, not PK/PD testing, and strengthening the analytics part of it, which is very important. So I see a big future coming in. We are going into a new era of biosimilars where the fears are gone about killing thousands of people, as big pharma said, okay, when FDA had his first meeting, okay, I was there, okay, and it was funny, okay, how they said, okay, that only we know how to make it. It is a product by process, okay, and only we have the process, okay. I said, okay, you have a process, not the process. How about if I do better than you? Then I went on to teach that, no, I should not do that. You have to make it just as bad as the reference product. Don't improve it. So I am very happy to share with you that there's a lot of changes coming up, but the onus will lie on the companies, okay, to go and challenge it. Both agencies are ready to accept the challenge, but somebody has to ask.
Something really, really good to know. But as you mentioned, I think we are moving towards a new area of biosimilars. I think Indian government is pushing the domestic industry to capitalize on the fact that COVID-19 provides a larger opportunity to shift the biosimilar landscape. What policies and regulations would help build such a landscape?
So before I go a little bit further, okay, I have also developed a biosimilar vaccine, mRNA. It is, as I said, it's a pure chemical. For a biologic drug, I cannot tell exactly what the structure is, except for maybe the primary structure and a little bit of secondary of it. But here we have a straight strip of it. The Pfizer is about 4,300 nucleosides in one chain, a straight chain, and you can see each one of them where they are. There is no tertiary structure. So my question to FDA was, what if I make an exact copy? Exact means no difference, okay? And then I ask you, okay, how do I test it? If you cannot tell the difference between my product, which I have in my vial, and let's say Pfizer or Moderna, whichever it is, okay, then how do we go about doing the efficacy testing? And that's where I think the Indian agencies have a little issue. Okay, today I have a chance to say things, so I will say that, okay. Sure. They don't have a progressive thinking. So I went to FDA and I said, how do I test it? You know, the first thing was said, A, you cannot test it in placebo-controlled studies because it will be unethical. You don't want people to be exposed to a placebo. You can test in a comparative protocol, side by side, with Pfizer, Moderna, and your vaccine, no issue at all. And all you have to do is to look at the side effects which come up within 48 hours after you administer it, and look at the antibody profile. So just like we talk about proteins, okay, if I can match the profile 100%, the body cannot tell, okay, whether this came from a cheaper source or an expensive source. So now you have a wonderful opportunity today, okay, to create mRNA vaccine, not just this vaccine, okay, but I anticipate hundreds of new vaccines coming in for infections, also for autoimmune disorders. I mean, that is much bigger topic, okay, and much bigger need today. We have pretty good vaccines, okay, but we have no treatment for Parkinson, Alzheimer's, or diabetes. Let's move forward, okay? And I think this is where the India can do a great job. But I think your regulatory agency has to be a little bit more scientific, a little bit more practical. And I think realist is also important. When I see the guidelines, they tell you to do everything, okay? Especially with biosimilars, oh my goodness, okay? And nobody requires more studies than in India, and none of them are of any value, okay? So, but anyway, I just didn't want to be critical because I don't want to come out like that, okay? But since you asked the question, biosimilars have a remarkable opportunity, but only if you can sell them globally, okay? If you are just making a biosimilar to sell in India, I think your investment and your passion is not well presented, okay? If it is good enough for anyone, it good enough should be for everyone. So let's work on export market. Biocon has done a great job, but there are many others. There are 120 products I have identified today that have a patent expired and exclusivity expired. Who's going to make them? I think India can do it.
Great. I'm sure some of the pharma companies are definitely going to hear this, and also regulators. I think some of the piece of advice that you've given, I'm sure this will definitely put us forth on development of this biosimilars market. But I'm sure you would have heard that our government in India is also laying focus on Atmanirbharta, which is self-reliance. And what are your thoughts on potential collaborations between Indian and foreign players, especially when governments, as I said, growing focus is on incentivizing domestic manufacturing?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. So let me give you an example, okay? I just finished a paper, so I had to put these numbers. For COVID support, the US spent $4.3 trillion, and the world has spent close to $12 trillion. 4.3 trillion is more than the 2019 budget of the US, okay? All right. Where did some of the money go? It went to support development. The reason we have an excess of vaccines, okay, is because the US government bought everything. All the new drugs coming in, molnupiravir and so on, Paxlovid, they already bought everything, okay? The company called Moderna was started by a grant from US Department of Defense. First money they had. And the reason they call Moderna is because they have a modified RNA. That's where the name came in. And that was a selling point you will wonder, okay, what is Department of Defense doing? They have a lot of money and a lot of expertise to understand these things, okay? And that modification alone had enough value to bring the vaccine. There's another company in Germany, they refused the modernized style and they made their own mRNA vaccine and they failed. Okay, so what I'm saying is that the governments have to come in the picture, okay, to motivate people to bring in innovations. I think we are moving so fast in this world, okay? Now, you don't always have to depend on the government. I think India has one of the unique situations, you have so many entrepreneurs. They've done so good, okay? They don't need money from government. Money is not an issue, okay, for Indian investors. What is that issue? I always tell, I start with numbers. 70 to 75% of all Nobel laureates had lived in US when they got the award. Why? The world's most valuable companies, Apple just hit a value of $3 trillion. Okay. You go around, eat Big Mac and watch America. Why is all that okay? Because of the innovation part of it. I've lived here long enough and I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars for my company. People are willing to take risk. They are ready to fail fast. And they have a very optimistic view of the future. At this point, I think India is almost at the breaking point. The reason I said that, you have expertise that no other country has. I can vouch for that. Okay, they can make any vaccine, any drug, anything. Okay, we have to instill in their mind that it should take the fear of failure out and make a product which is globally approvable, not just in India. And it does not cost any more. It just requires a different thinking when you start.
Probably answer my next question also. How do you incentivize innovations as compared to the development? Because most of the companies are more into development rather than innovation. I think that really clears the thought. But I think any particular thing which you feel from government perspective, which we should
Sure.
probably doing,
Yeah.
should be
No.
encouraging this
Sure.
companies to get into innovation.
So one piece of data that very few people realize, okay, which one is one of the least innovative countries? I mean, there are a lot of developing countries. Is Japan.
Oh.
Okay, Japan does not believe in innovation. Okay, they believe in taking technology. They have more patents, almost as many patents as US researchers have. They believe in bring technology into practice. Okay, now I can tell you this. Okay, I'm not discouraging original thinking, innovation. There are so much available today on the table to innovate. Okay, I don't want you to go and spend time and money on creating a new process. Okay, I want you to bring in all the innovations in India and convert them into products which have a commercial value to you. Does China have innovation? Almost none. Okay, you don't hear anything, but everything I have on my desk, okay, is 90% made in China. Okay, they are very good in converting a thought process. The iPhone I have is made in China. Okay, so India has to find its niche. The reason India has done better than China in pharma and will do a lot better is your language, first of all, which makes a lot of difference. A long history. I mean, you see how many Nobel laureates you have in chemistry. There's something in your genes, okay, that resonates well with chemistry. So I would say that instead of chasing innovations, okay, I'll chase the commercialization of innovations. And there are plenty of things available today on an open license basis.
That's a really interesting view. So it's really how you should, as a country, identify your own niche and then move ahead in that direction rather than.
Exactly.
So I would like to come to our sector as
sure.
We are all about face-to-face and live events and making people meet, especially exhibitions and conferences that have been significantly playing a big part in bringing innovations and discoveries to the forefront, helping industry and businesses at large. How, according to you, also are corporates and governments looking at this sector globally?
I think this, I call the transformation of COVID has taught us many lessons. There were many people who were reluctant to go through any remote contact and remote learning, remote presentation. But one thing has not changed, and it will not change, is that we are social animals. Okay? Human beings, just like many animals. Okay, I think I'm very happy to see your face. Okay, but I'd rather be sitting next to you, so I can talk to you about it. These conferences have been, at least in my lifetime and my experience, the best sources to do the networking. You sit with somebody, you talk to them, and before you know, you have a friend and you have a new project going on. People still make decisions based on not what you are offering them to do, but who are you? At least in the US, all the big investments do not go to projects, they go to people. Can this person do it? Does he really believe in it? So I think, I still think that not much has changed. Give yourself one more year and most people will forget this thing called Zoom. Okay, they say, yeah, it was something, that was Zoom. Okay. But I think our our desire to have a one-on-one meeting and people is not going to change because this is a hard wired in our in genes. Okay, so you have done a great job by bringing in the professionals. So when I go and give a talk, I say, there are two arts. There's art of talking, and which is easy, and then there is the art of listening, which you acquire over hard work. Okay, and I think what happens in these conferences, okay, I like to hear other people's views, no matter how different they are from my thinking. And that's what makes the diversity very important. Nothing beats, standing there at a booth and looking at equipment, talking to somebody, okay, how many ideas are made. I can assure you, okay, a lot of business is developed in every conference that you have held, and you may not be aware of it, okay, but I think we're going to come back in a bigger way because, and that's what happened with everything. Okay, once you come out of the shallow, okay, people are waiting to go out and have these meetings and make the best out of it.
Absolutely. I'm pleased to know this. And definitely, as you said, I think we'll definitely love to have this face to face rather than this Zoom calls. And hope you can see you soon in India next time when we do
Absolutely.
Biopharma conference. But having said that, I come to my last question now. I think this is something personal to you. You have worn so many hats very effortlessly. You do multiple roles in your own personal life. What is your secret mantra for this? And that you seek further?
Well, you said you have done easily. Okay, I don't think anything is easy in life. In fact, one of the major statements that John Kennedy made in 1961, he says, "We're going to go to moon not because it is easy, but because it's difficult." Some people just want to do things. I think one thing I have always believed in that my father was a very famous writer in India, and before he was dying, I talked to him, and he said, "Don't believe in anybody, including your father. Develop enough wisdom to know what to believe in, but never believe in hypocrisy. That will kill you. Anything you have." So first of all, I want to do things that I truly believe in, not because of any financial reasons or any other reasons, but there's some things need to be done. Like this biosimilar thing, I'm striking so hard. Finally, this year only, I was able to bend both FDA and EMA to accept my proposal, okay, to remove those testing. I'm not getting anything out of it except the pleasure of knowing that we are on the right path. Okay? Again, we only live one life, as you know, but there's so much to do to help so many people, whether this is intellectual, whether it's the financial, whether it's the healthcare. I'm in the part of healthcare, and I think it's almost shame to me to say, okay, that 80% of the world today is suffering. US presents 4.5% of the world population, and 70% of all drugs, and 95% of all garbage they produce. Okay. Now, this diversity has to change. Okay, I think I'm in here to encourage the developing countries to stand and take the examples of countries like China and Singapore, Malaysia. They just, you can go to the top. Okay, there is no reason why you cannot. Okay, so I've done a few things that I truly enjoy and I truly believe in. Okay, and I think that gives you enough strength to stand when things don't work out. Okay, like I wanted to be the first company to make biosimilar in US. You have no idea how many times I heard people saying, "It's not gonna work." Okay, it's not gonna work. Okay, but then I did make it. So I think belief is one thing. Do only what you believe in your heart, not for the sake of others.
Great. I think what a way to end this. I think very inspiring. Do what you believe and not seek for others, just for your own heart. So I think
Yeah,
wonderful way, a wonderful words to end this conversation. Thank you, Dr. Niazi. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll definitely love to hear back with you and meet you in person in India soon.
absolutely. I'll be more than delighted. And thank you for giving me the chance to talk to so many people. I hope it makes a small impact somewhere here or there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you so much.